Luna didn't know that the man watching her from the tree line was the most powerful alpha in existence. She didn't know he could scent the dormant power thrumming beneath her supposed weakness. And she certainly didn't know that her pack's rejection had just freed her to become exactly what she was always meant to be. Her hands trembled as she smoothed the borrowed dress over her too thin frame. The fabric hung loose where it should have curved, marking her as different from the other she-wolves preparing for their alpha trials. Around her, confident voices discussed strategy and strength while she stood silent in the corner of the preparation tent. "Look at her," Meredith whispered, loud enough for Luna to hear. "She actually thinks she can become an alpha." The laughter that followed hit Luna like physical blows. She kept her eyes down, focusing on the worn boots that had belonged to 3 different pack members before her. Everything she owned was borrowed, handed down, or salvaged. Even her wolf felt borrowed, so quiet and small that sometimes she wondered if she had one at all. "The Runt Omega thinks she's special," another voice added. "This should be entertaining." Luna's chest tightened, but she forced herself to breathe. She had trained for this moment for 3 years, pushing her body beyond its limits in the early morning hours when no one else was awake. Her wolf might be silent, but Luna refused to be invisible any longer. The horns sounded, calling all candidates to the trial grounds. Luna fell into step behind the others, her heart hammering against her ribs. She had one chance to prove she belonged somewhere other than the bottom of the pack hierarchy. One chance to show them that quiet didn't mean weak. The trial grounds sprawled before them, marked by ancient stones that had witnessed countless challenges. Pack leader Marcus stood at the centre, his massive frame radiating the kind of authority Luna had never possessed. His eyes swept over the candidates, lingering on each of the strong, confident she-wolves before dismissing Luna entirely. "Today you prove your worth," Marcus announced, his voice carrying across the gathered crowd. "Strength, courage, and leadership. Show us you deserve to stand among the alphas." Luna caught a scent on the wind then, something that made her wolf stir for the first time in weeks. Wild and dangerous, but not threatening. Protective. She glanced toward the tree line, but saw nothing except shadows and possibilities. The trials began with combat. Luna held her own against her first opponent, using speed where she lacked brute force. But when she faced Meredith, the stronger wolf's claws raked across her ribs, sending her sprawling in the dirt. The crowd's approval for Meredith's dominance echoed in Luna's ears as she struggled to her feet. "Stay down, Runt," Meredith snarled. "This is where you belong." Something flickered in Luna's chest then, hot and fierce. For a moment her wolf lifted its head, and power coursed through her veins like lightning. She surged upward, moving faster than she ever had before, her hand connecting with Meredith's throat in a strike that sent the other woman stumbling backward. The crowd went silent. Luna stared at her own hand, shocked by what she had just done. The power vanished as quickly as it had come, leaving her feeling hollow and confused. In the tree line, golden eyes watched with sudden intensity. "Interesting," Marcus said, circling Luna like a predator. "But one lucky strike doesn't make an alpha." The leadership trial destroyed her. Asked to command a group of pack members in a mock rescue, Luna's quiet voice was ignored and her strategies dismissed. She watched helplessly as her team followed their own plans, leaving her standing alone in the centre of the field. "This is what happens when weakness tries to lead," Marcus announced to the assembled pack. "Luna Ashwood, you are not alpha material. You're not even proper omega material. You're nothing." The words landed like blows, each one driving her deeper into the ground. Around her, the pack nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the disgust in Marcus's voice. Her own pack, the wolves she had grown up with, looked at her with contempt. "I reject Luna Ashwood as a member of this pack," Marcus continued, his voice formal now, carrying the weight of ancient law. "She brings shame to our bloodline and weakness to our ranks. Let her find her place elsewhere." Luna's legs nearly gave out. Pack rejection was a death sentence for most wolves. Without a pack's protection, rogues would hunt her down within days. She had nowhere to go, no family outside this group, no skills beyond the menial tasks they had allowed her to perform. She turned and ran. The forest welcomed her with cool shadows and the whisper of wind through leaves. Her feet carried her deeper into the wilderness, away from the sound of celebration as the true alphas were announced. Branches caught at her borrowed dress, tearing the fabric and leaving scratches on her arms, but she didn't slow down until her lungs burned and her legs collapsed beneath her. She found herself beside a clear stream, the water reflecting her tear-stained face. Everything hurt. Her ribs ached from Meredith's claws. Her pride lay in tatters, and her future stretched ahead of her like an empty void. "They were right," she whispered to her reflection. "I am nothing." The scent came again then, stronger now. Wild honey and storm clouds, power and patience combined. Her wolf stirred, responding to something Luna couldn't understand. Footsteps approached through the underbrush, measured and deliberate. She didn't look up when he settled beside her on the stream bank, his presence both overwhelming and oddly comforting. She had never seen him before, but something in her recognized him anyway. His scent wrapped around her like a blanket, soothing the raw edges of her rejection. "They're fools," he said quietly, his voice carrying an authority that made Marcus seem like a child playing at leadership. Luna finally raised her head, meeting the golden eyes that had watched her from the shadows. He was beautiful in the way storms were beautiful, dangerous and magnificent, and completely out of her reach. Everything about him screamed power, from his perfect posture to the way the very air seemed to bend around him. "You don't know what you're talking about," she said, surprised by her own boldness. "They're right. I'm weak." He smiled then, and something in Luna's chest pulled tight. "You moved faster than any wolf I've ever seen during that combat trial. Your strategy in the leadership test was flawless, even if they were too stupid to listen. And the power that flickered through you when you were angry." He leaned closer, and she caught the full impact of his scent. "That wasn't weakness, little wolf. That was suppressed strength finally fighting to get out." "Who are you?" she whispered. His smile widened, revealing perfect teeth and a confidence that spoke of absolute authority. "Someone who recognizes potential when he sees it. And you, Luna Ashwood, have more potential than all of them combined." The words should have felt like lies or pity, but something in his voice made them ring with truth. Luna stared at this stranger, who spoke to her like she mattered, like she was worth something more than the scraps her pack had thrown her way. "They rejected me," she said, the words thick with shame. "Good," he replied, rising to his feet and offering her his hand. "Now you're free to become what you were always meant to be." Luna looked at his outstretched hand, calloused and strong, offering her something her pack never had: hope. She didn't know who he was or why he cared, but for the first time in her life, someone was looking at her and seeing strength instead of failure. She was about to discover just how right he was. 3 months of surviving alone had changed Luna in ways she was only beginning to understand. The soft Omega who had trembled before her pack's judgment was gone, replaced by someone harder, leaner, more alert. Her borrowed dress had been traded for practical clothes, scavenged from abandoned campsites. Her hands bore calluses from building shelters and catching fish. Her senses had sharpened until she could track a rabbit by scent alone. But she was still running. Every sunrise brought the same routine: break camp, cover her tracks, move deeper into territories she didn't recognize. The wilderness stretched endlessly before her, mountain ranges giving way to dense forests, then rolling hills that seemed to go on forever. She crossed stream after stream, each one washing away her scent trail, each one carrying her further from everything she had ever known. What Luna didn't realize was that nothing had threatened her in all those weeks of wandering. Rogue wolves that should have torn a lone female apart caught her scent and inexplicably changed direction. Predators that would normally stalk a solitary traveller found themselves suddenly uninterested in hunting. The mountain cats that ruled these remote territories simply disappeared whenever she drew near. She attributed her survival to luck and growing skill. She never noticed the massive paw prints that appeared beside her own tracks each morning, only to vanish before she turned around. The power came in waves now, unpredictable and fierce. It happened when she was cornered by a black bear near a berry thicket. The animal had reared up on its hind legs, towering over her small frame, and something inside Luna had simply said no. Energy exploded outward from her chest, and the bear had stumbled backward, eyes wide with what looked almost like recognition before it lumbered away. Another time, when hypothermia threatened during an unexpected storm, heat had bloomed beneath her skin like an internal fire, keeping her alive through a night that should have killed her. Her wet clothes had actually steamed in the morning air. Luna told herself these incidents meant nothing. Adrenaline could explain the bear. Body heat regulation was a survival trait. She was simply adapting to life as a rogue, becoming what she needed to become to stay alive. She refused to hope it meant anything more. The humans appeared on a Tuesday morning, their bright jackets and chattering voices cutting through the forest, peace like knives. Luna watched from behind a stand of pine trees as the hiking group spread out along the trail, their guide pointing toward various landmarks with the enthusiasm of someone who had never faced real danger in these woods. Luna was about to circle around them when she caught the scent. Rogues, 3 of them, moving in formation toward the unsuspecting humans. The acrid smell of their unwashed fur mixed with something else, madness, hunger, the desperate edge that came with too long spent outside pack protection. She should have kept walking. Humans weren't her responsibility. Getting involved would only expose her location to wolves who might recognize her scent and report back to tracking parties. But the youngest hiker couldn't have been more than 16, laughing at something his friend had said, completely unaware that death was stalking him through the underbrush. Luna found herself moving before conscious thought kicked in. She reached the trail just as the first rogue burst from the tree line. The humans screamed, scattering in all directions, but they were too slow, too soft, too utterly unprepared for the reality of predators that could think and plan. The rogue's yellow eyes fixed on the teenage boy who had stumbled and fallen. Saliva dripped from its exposed fangs as it crouched to spring. Luna shifted without realizing she intended to. Her wolf exploded outward, larger and more powerful than she had ever felt before. Where Luna was small and seemingly weak, her wolf was magnificent. Silver-white fur that caught the sunlight like spun moonbeams, eyes that blazed with inner fire, muscles that moved with liquid grace and deadly purpose. She hit the first rogue before it could reach the boy, her jaws closing around its throat with bone-crushing force. The other 2 rogues turned toward her, snarling, but something in her presence made them hesitate. She was alone, outnumbered, but she radiated an authority that spoke to the wolf part of their brains. Submit. The command came from somewhere deep inside her, powered by instincts she hadn't known she possessed. It rolled outward like a physical force, and the rogue's aggressive postures faltered. One actually took a step backward, ears flattening against its skull. But rogues were mad things, driven by desperation and broken pack bonds. They fought through her command and attacked as one. The battle was swift and brutal. Luna moved like liquid lightning, her newfound strength allowing her to match wolves twice her size. Her claws raked across ribs, her teeth found throats, and when the largest rogue tried to circle behind her, she spun with inhuman speed and sent him crashing into a tree trunk with a crack that echoed through the forest. When it was over, all 3 rogues lay motionless in the dirt. Luna stood over them, her white fur unmarked by blood, her chest heaving with exertion and something that felt dangerously like triumph. The humans had fled. She was alone with the evidence of what she could do. She shifted back to human form, staring at her hands in wonder and terror. Those same hands had just killed 3 wolves without suffering so much as a scratch. The power that had flickered during her alpha trial now blazed inside her like a second sun. "Impressive!" The voice came from directly behind her, deep and familiar. Luna spun around to find the golden-eyed stranger from the stream bank leaning against a tree, watching her with an expression she couldn't read. "You!" she breathed. He stepped forward, and she caught his scent again. Wild honey and storm clouds, but stronger now, more complex. There were layers to it that spoke of ancient bloodlines and power beyond her understanding. "You followed me?" she accused. "I've been keeping watch," he corrected, his gaze moving to the dead rogues. "Though it appears you needed less protection than I anticipated." "Protection?" Luna's voice rose. "You think I need protecting?" His lips curved into a smile that was both proud and possessive. 3 months ago, yes. Today? He gestured toward the bodies. Today you just took down 3 rogues without breaking a sweat. Tell me, little wolf, how does that feel? Luna opened her mouth to deny it, to insist it had been luck or desperation, but the words wouldn't come. It had felt incredible, natural, like she was finally using muscles that had been bound her entire life. "Who are you?" she demanded instead. He moved closer, and Luna's heart began to race, not from fear, but from something far more dangerous. Her wolf stirred at his proximity, responding to him in ways that made no sense. "Someone who recognizes potential when he sees it," he said, echoing his words from their first meeting. "Someone who's been waiting a very long time to find what you're becoming." "And what's that?" His golden eyes held hers, and Luna felt the world tilt around her. Everything she thought she knew about herself, about her place in the world, seemed suddenly fragile as glass. "Equal," he said simply. The word hit her like a physical blow. Equal. She had never been equal to anyone in her life. She had always been less than, weaker than, other than. The idea that someone might see her as an equal felt impossible. "I don't understand," she whispered. "You will." He extended his hand toward her, the same gesture he had made by the stream. "But first you need training, real training, the kind that will teach you to harness what's awakening inside you, instead of letting it explode randomly when you're threatened." Luna stared at his offered hand. Accepting help felt wrong, dangerous. She had learned to survive alone. She didn't need anyone. But the memory of power flowing through her veins, of moving with strength and speed beyond anything she had ever imagined, whispered that maybe she was wrong. Maybe she didn't just need to survive. Maybe she could learn to live. "1 week," she said finally. "I'll give you 1 week to prove I'm worth training. When you realize I'm not, I walk away." His smile widened, revealing perfect teeth and a confidence that spoke of absolute certainty. "Deal, though I should warn you. By the end of that week, little wolf, walking away is going to be the last thing you want to do." Something in his voice sent heat spiraling through Luna's chest, pooling low in her belly, in a way that had nothing to do with her wolf and everything to do with the way he looked at her like she was precious. She took his hand. The moment their skin touched, electricity shot up her arm and straight to her heart. Her wolf howled with sudden recognition, and Luna gasped as something clicked into place inside her chest. A golden thread of connection that felt ancient and inevitable and absolutely terrifying. "What was that?" she breathed. His grip tightened around her fingers, and his eyes blazed with an intensity that made her knees weak. "That," he said, "was the beginning of everything." Luna had expected a training ground. What she found instead was a hidden valley that took her breath away. Ancient trees formed a natural cathedral around a series of clearings, their massive trunks scarred by what looked like centuries of claw marks. Stone circles dotted the landscape, worn smooth by countless paws and feet. A crystal-clear pool reflected the morning sky, fed by a waterfall that sang against the rocks. Everything about this place whispered of power, purpose, and permanence. "How long has this place been here?" she asked, following him down a winding path that seemed to appear beneath their feet. "Longer than memory," he replied, not looking back. "It's where alphas have come to find themselves for over 1,000 years, where they learn the difference between leadership and domination." Luna stumbled slightly. Leadership. She still couldn't reconcile that word with herself. Leaders were strong, confident, commanding. They weren't rejected Omegas who had spent their lives scrubbing floors and keeping their heads down. Second thoughts? He had stopped and was watching her with those golden eyes that seemed to see everything. "Constant thoughts," Luna admitted. "This is going to be a waste of your time." He smiled, and something in her chest fluttered traitorously. "We'll see. First lesson. Attack me." "What?" "You heard me. Shift and attack with everything you have." Luna stared at him. He stood relaxed in the centre of the largest clearing, hands loose at his sides, expression almost bored. There was no defensive posture, no preparation for combat. He looked like he was asking her to hand him a cup of tea. "I'm not going to attack you," she said. "Why not?" "Because you're—" She gestured helplessly at his perfect form. "You're you, and I'm me. I'll hurt myself more than I hurt you." His expression shifted, becoming sharper. "There it is. The lie they taught you to believe, that you're weak, helpless, destined to submit to your betters." He circled her slowly, predator graceful. "Tell me, little wolf, who convinced you that your nature was submission?" "It's not a lie," Luna protested. "I tried to be an alpha. I failed, spectacularly." "You were drugged." The words hit her like a physical blow. Luna's breath caught in her throat. "What?" "Your scent carries traces of wolfsbane extract. Old traces, embedded deep in your system. Someone has been suppressing your wolf since you were a child." His voice carried a fury that made the air around them shimmer with heat. "Your pack didn't just reject you, Luna. They crippled you first." The world tilted. Luna sank to her knees in the soft grass, memories crashing over her like waves. Her mother bringing her special tea every morning. "For your health, little one." The way her wolf had always felt distant, muffled, like it was speaking to her through thick glass. The exhaustion that followed every attempt to shift. The weakness that seemed to settle into her bones. "They drugged me," she whispered. "My own family, my own pack." "Wolfsbane in small doses over time creates dependency," he continued, his voice gentler now. "Your wolf learned to stay hidden to protect itself, but you've been clean for 3 months now. Your system has been purging the poison. What do you think has been causing those power surges?" Luna looked up at him through eyes bright with unshed tears. "My wolf coming back." "Your wolf coming home." He knelt beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his skin. "Now, attack me." This time, Luna didn't hesitate. She shifted mid-lunge, her wolf erupting outward with 3 months' worth of suppressed fury. She was larger than before, stronger, her silver-white fur blazing in the dappled sunlight. Her paws hit the ground with force that sent tremors through the earth. He was ready for her, of course. He shifted between one heartbeat and the next, becoming something magnificent and terrifying. His wolf was massive, coal-black with eyes like molten gold, radiating an authority that made every instinct in her body scream submission. But Luna was too angry to submit. She hit him like a force of nature, claws extended, jaws snapping. He rolled with the impact, using her momentum against her, but she twisted free and came at him again. They crashed through the underbrush, a whirlwind of fangs and fur and primal power. He was stronger, more experienced, but Luna was faster. She darted around his attacks, landed blows where he didn't expect them, fought with a desperate fury that surprised them both. For the first time in her life, she felt truly alive. When he finally pinned her, both of them were breathing hard. His massive frame covered hers completely, his jaws at her throat in the classic position of dominance. Luna expected to feel defeat, submission, the familiar weight of inadequacy. Instead, she felt proud. She had lasted nearly 10 minutes against a wolf who could probably take down entire packs, single-handed. She had drawn blood, left scratches across his ribs, made him work for the victory. They shifted back to human form simultaneously, still pressed together on the forest floor. His golden eyes were bright with something that looked almost like pride. "Better," he said. "Better?" Luna laughed, slightly hysterical. "You destroyed me. I had to work for it." He rolled off her but stayed close, propped on one elbow. "Your form is excellent, your instincts are sharp, and your speed is remarkable. With proper training, you could be formidable." "Could be," Luna repeated, "but I'm not. Not yet." "No," he agreed, "but you're not weak. You never were. You were poisoned, suppressed, told lies about your own nature. There's a difference." Luna sat up slowly, processing this revelation. Everything she thought she knew about herself was crumbling, being replaced by something that felt both terrifying and intoxicating. "Who did this to me?" she asked. "Who made the decision to drug a child?" His expression darkened. "That's a question worth asking. Wolfsbane is expensive, difficult to obtain, and dangerous to administer. Someone with resources and knowledge made a deliberate choice to cripple your development." "My mother gave me the tea," Luna said quietly, "every morning for 15 years. "Did she know what it was?" Luna considered this. Her mother had always been nervous, jumpy, constantly looking over her shoulder like she expected punishment to fall from the sky. "I don't think so. I think someone told her it would keep me safe." "Safe from what?" "I don't know." But even as she said it, Luna felt the stirring of memory, whispered conversations that stopped when she entered rooms, her father's worried glances, the way pack members sometimes looked at her with something that wasn't quite disgust. Fear. They had been afraid of her. "We'll figure it out," he said, rising to his feet and offering her his hand. "But first, you need to learn control. Your wolf has been caged for so long that she's going to be volatile for a while. Unpredictable." Luna let him pull her up, trying to ignore the way electricity sparked between them at every touch. "How long will that take?" "Depends on how fast you learn." His smile was warm and proud and completely devastating. "But judging by what I just saw, not long at all." They spent the rest of the day working on basic control exercises. Luna learned to call her shift without anger, to hold partial transformations, to channel her strength without letting it explode outward uncontrolled. It was exhausting, exhilarating work that left her drained and oddly peaceful. As the sun began to set, painting the valley in shades of gold and crimson, they sat beside the crystal pool, sharing the simple meal he had prepared. Luna watched him move with unconscious grace, every gesture speaking of absolute confidence, and felt something dangerous stirring in her chest. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Always." "Why are you helping me? Really, you don't know anything about me except that my pack rejected me. I could be dangerous, unstable, completely worthless in the end." He was quiet for a long moment, staring out across the water. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a weight that made her breath catch. "Do you know what it's like to be powerful but alone? To have strength that no one can match, authority that no one can question, but no one who truly understands what it costs?" He turned to look at her, and Luna saw something vulnerable in his golden eyes. "I've been searching for an equal for a very long time, little wolf. Someone who could stand beside me not as a subject or a decoration, but as a true partner." "And you think I could be that?" Luna's voice was barely a whisper. I think," he said, reaching out to tuck a strand of silver hair behind her ear, "that you already are. You just don't know it yet." The touch of his fingers against her skin sent heat spiralling through Luna's entire body. Her wolf purred with contentment, and for the first time in her life she felt the stirring of something that might have been hope. "One more day," she said. "Give me one more day to prove you wrong." His laugh was rich and warm and full of absolute certainty. "Little wolf, by tomorrow night you're going to be begging me to stay." As Luna settled into the small shelter he had built for her, she tried to ignore the way her heart raced at his words. But deep in her chest, the golden thread that connected them pulsed with warmth, and she couldn't shake the feeling that he might be right. Tomorrow would change everything. She could feel it in her bones. The scout arrived at dawn, his fur matted with sweat and his eyes wide with urgency. Pack leader. Marcus listened to the breathless report with growing disbelief. A powerful rogue alpha had been spotted in the Northern Territories, silver-white fur, female, moving with authority that made seasoned warriors step aside. The description was impossible, laughable even, except for one crucial detail. The scent signature matched Luna Ashwood. "You're certain?" Marcus demanded, his massive frame tensing with barely contained rage. "Positive, Alpha. The humans she saved are calling her their guardian angel. Word is spreading through 5 territories about the white wolf who commands rogues with a single look." The scout's voice dropped to a whisper. "They say she moves like lightning and fights like fury itself." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. 3 months ago he had rejected a pathetic Omega who couldn't command a group of children. Now that same female was being discussed in the same breath as legendary alphas. "Gather the hunting party," he snarled. "If Luna Ashwood thinks she can make fools of us, she's about to learn otherwise." Meanwhile, in the hidden valley, Luna was discovering that her newfound power came with a price. She woke to the sound of wings, dozens of ravens circling overhead in patterns that spoke of surveillance rather than chance. Her wolf stirred uneasily, sensing something wrong in the morning air. The birds weren't just birds. "Scouts," her mysterious trainer confirmed when she found him by the pool, his golden eyes tracking the dark shapes above. "Your transformation hasn't gone unnoticed." "My pack?" Luna asked, though she already knew the answer. "Among others, word of a powerful rogue alpha has spread through the territories faster than wildfire. Every pack leader within 100 miles is wondering who you are and whether you represent a threat to their authority." Luna sank onto a moss-covered stone, overwhelmed. "I just wanted to help those hikers. I didn't think—" "You didn't think saving innocent lives would mark you as dangerous?" His voice held a gentle reproach. "Power always draws attention, little wolf. The question is what you plan to do about it." "Run," Luna said immediately. "Like I've been doing for 3 months. Find somewhere remote and stay hidden until they lose interest." He was quiet for so long that Luna finally looked up at him. His expression was carefully neutral, but something in his stance spoke of disappointment. "What?" she demanded. "Nothing. If running is what you want, I won't stop you." He turned toward the valley entrance. "I'll make sure you have supplies and a safe route out of the territory." "That's it? You're not going to try to convince me to stay and fight?" "Would it matter if I did?" He paused, golden eyes meeting hers across the clearing. "You're free to choose your own path, Luna. You always have been. But choosing to run from every challenge means choosing to stay exactly who you were 3 months ago." The words hit her like physical blows. Luna felt something fierce and angry rise in her chest. The same fury that had driven her to save the humans, to fight the rogues, to attack him yesterday without hesitation. "And who was I 3 months ago?" she asked dangerously. "Someone who let others define her worth. Someone who believed the lies they told about her nature. Someone who ran because she thought she had no other choice." Luna was on her feet before she realized she intended to move. "Don't you dare judge me. You have no idea what it was like, growing up believing you were nothing, having every attempt at strength crushed before it could take root." "You're right," he said quietly. "I don't know what that was like. I've always known what I was, always had my strength acknowledged and respected. But I know what you are now, Luna. And what you are now is someone who can choose to fight. Fight what? My entire pack? The other packs who see me as a threat? I'm one wolf against armies. You're not alone. The simple statement hung between them like a bridge. Luna stared at him, seeing something in his expression she couldn't quite identify. Something that looked almost like vulnerability. What does that mean? She whispered. It means, he said, stepping closer, that I didn't spend 3 months helping you discover your power just to watch you waste it running from shadows. It means that if you choose to face your past, you won't face it alone. Why? The question tore from her throat, raw and desperate. Why would you risk yourself for me? I'm nothing special. I'm just a rejected Omega who got lucky with some latent power. He moved faster than thought, closing the distance between them and framing her face with his hands. His touch sent electricity racing through her entire body, and Luna's breath caught as his scent wrapped around her like a living thing. You are not nothing, he said fiercely. You are brave enough to save strangers at the risk of your own safety. Strong enough to survive 3 months alone in hostile territory. Powerful enough to take down multiple rogues without training. Kind enough to worry about the innocent even when you're terrified. His thumbs traced over her cheekbones, and Luna felt tears she hadn't realized she was shedding. And you're foolish enough to think any of that makes you ordinary. Who are you? Luna whispered, the question she had been carrying for days finally breaking free. Really? You're not just some helpful stranger. No one has this kind of power, this kind of authority, without a name that means something. His smile was sad and proud and infinitely gentle. You're not ready for that answer yet, little wolf, but you will be, soon. Before Luna could respond, a new scent hit the air. Multiple wolves, moving in formation, approaching fast. Her wolf went on high alert, every instinct screaming danger. How many? He asked, his entire demeanour shifting to something deadly and focused. 12, maybe 15. Luna's enhanced senses picked apart the complex scent trail. My pack's hunting formation. They're still 2 hours out, but they're tracking me directly. Any others? Luna breathed deeper, sorting through the wilderness scents until she found what made her blood run cold. 2 more groups, different packs, all converging on this location. So they're coordinating. Interesting. His voice held no fear, only a calculating coldness that made Luna shiver. They must be very sure you're a threat. Because I am, aren't I? Luna realized with sudden clarity. They didn't just reject me for being weak. They rejected me because they knew what I could become. Smart girl. His approval sent warmth flooding through her chest. The question now is whether you're going to let them destroy you or whether you're going to show them exactly what they created when they tried to break you. Luna felt the golden thread in her chest pulse with sudden intensity. Her wolf rose to the surface, no longer the small, frightened creature that had cowered in her pack's presence. This wolf was fierce and proud and absolutely done with running. I'm tired of being afraid, she said. Good. Fear is useful for survival, but it's poison for living. He stepped back, giving her space, but his golden eyes held a promise that sent her heart racing. Whatever you decide, Luna, I'll stand with you. But the choice has to be yours. Luna looked toward the valley entrance, knowing that beyond those ancient trees lay her past in the form of wolves who had spent her entire life convincing her she was worthless. She could run, disappear into the wilderness, spend the rest of her life hiding from her own shadow. Or she could stay, she could fight, she could show them exactly what their rejection had freed her to become. They'll be here by dawn, she said. Yes. And they're coming to drag me back or kill me trying. Most likely. Luna felt a smile curve her lips, wild and fierce and completely new. Then we'd better be ready for them. His answering grin was devastating and full of pride and something else that made her wolf howl with recognition. "Finally," he said, "my equal chooses to fight." As they began planning their defense, Luna realized that for the first time in her life, she wasn't running towards safety. She was running toward herself, and tomorrow her pack would learn exactly what they had thrown away when they rejected Luna Ashwood. Dawn came with the sound of approaching paws and the scent of old hatred. Luna stood at the edge of the valley entrance, her silver-white fur gleaming in the early morning light. Beside her, her mysterious protector had shifted into his massive black wolf form, radiating an authority that made the very air shimmer with power. Together, they watched as 3 separate hunting parties emerged from the forest like ghosts made flesh. Pack leader Marcus led the centre group, his brown wolf larger than Luna remembered, his yellow eyes fixed on her with murderous intent. To his left came Alpha Brennan of the Northern Ridge Pack, his grey fur scarred from countless battles. To his right prowled Alpha Celeste of the Mountain Crest Pack, her red coat bright as fresh blood. 30 wolves in total, all focused on one target, Luna. "Luna Ashwood," Marcus called as he shifted to human form, his voice carrying across the clearing with practiced authority. "You will return with us immediately to face justice for your crimes against pack law." "What crimes?" Luna shifted as well, standing tall and unashamed of her nudity. 3 months of survival had burned away her modesty along with her fear. "Being rejected by you? Surviving when you expected me to die?" "Impersonating an alpha," Brennan snarled, his scarred face twisted with rage. "Terrorizing innocents, disrupting the natural order." Luna laughed, the sound sharp and dangerous. "Terrorizing innocents? I saved human lives from rogues. If that's terrorism, what does that make your hunting parties?" "You forget your place, Omega," Celeste hissed. "You were born to serve, not to command. This aberration you've become is an insult to every true alpha." "Born to serve," Luna repeated, tasting the words like poison. "Is that what you told yourself when you helped them drug me, Celeste? When you watched them poison a child for 15 years and said nothing?" The red-coated alpha's face went pale. Around the clearing, several wolves shifted nervously as Luna's words sank in. Drugging pack members was forbidden by ancient law, a crime punishable by death. "You have no proof of such accusations," Marcus said, but his voice held an edge of desperation. "Don't I?" Luna smiled, and power rippled outward from her like heat waves. "Tell them, Marcus. Tell them why my mother was so afraid. Tell them why you needed to keep me weak and compliant. Tell them what you were all so terrified I might become." "You were nothing," Marcus roared, his control finally snapping. "You were a mistake, an abomination that should never have been born. Your bloodline was tainted, cursed, destined to bring chaos to any pack foolish enough to harbour it." "My bloodline," Luna said quietly. "And what bloodline is that, Marcus? What am I that made you so afraid you had to drug a child?" The silence stretched taut as a bowstring. Every wolf in the clearing could sense the truth hovering just beyond reach, something that would change everything once spoken aloud. "You're White Wolf," Celeste whispered, her voice thick with horror and awe. "Ancient bloodline, born to rule over all others. No wonder they tried to suppress you." The words hit the assembled wolves like physical blows. White wolves were legend, myth, stories told to cubs about the first alphas who had shaped the world itself. They hadn't been seen in over 3 centuries. "Impossible," Brennan snarled. "White wolves are extinct, have been for generations." "Are they?" Luna's mysterious protector spoke for the first time, his voice carrying a weight that made every wolf in the clearing freeze. He stepped forward, still in human form, and the morning light seemed to bend around him like he was the sun itself. "Perhaps you should ask yourselves why you're all here, drawn to this place like moths to flame. What is it about her that calls to the deepest part of your wolf nature?" "Who are you to speak at all?" Marcus demanded, but his bravado couldn't hide the way his hands trembled. "This doesn't concern you, stranger." The golden-eyed man smiled, and Luna felt the world tilt on its axis. doesn't it? Allow me to introduce myself properly." He moved with liquid grace to stand directly beside Luna, his hand finding hers and their fingers intertwining naturally. "I am Dominic Blackthorne, Alpha King of the Western Territories, and this magnificent creature you've spent her entire life trying to destroy is my mate." The silence that followed was deafening. Alpha King, the most powerful wolf in existence, ruler of territories that spanned half the continent, the living legend that other alphas whispered about in hushed tones. And he was claiming Luna Ashwood, rejected, supposedly weak Luna Ashwood, as his equal. "Impossible," Marcus whispered. "She's nobody. She's nothing. We made sure of that." "You made sure of nothing," Dominic said, his voice dropping to a tone that made grown alphas take involuntary steps backward. "You took a white wolf pup, fed her poison for 15 years, convinced her she was worthless, and then had the audacity to reject her when she couldn't perform at her full potential. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "We protected our pack from—" "You created your own destruction," Luna interrupted, her voice carrying new authority that silenced every wolf present. "You want to know what I am, what I've become?" She released Dominic's hand and walked toward the center of the clearing. Power radiated from her in waves, ancient and undeniable. Her wolf rose to the surface without a full shift, golden eyes blazing in her human face. "I am Luna Ashwood, daughter of the White Wolf bloodline, mate to the Alpha King, and I challenge you, Marcus Greystone, to single combat for the right to exist free of your persecution." The formal challenge rang across the clearing like a bell. Ancient law demanded it be answered. Marcus could accept and fight, or he could submit and lose all authority over her forever. "You think you can defeat me because you have a powerful mate," Marcus snarled, beginning his own shift. "You're still the same weak Omega underneath all this bluster." "Then prove it," Luna said simply. The fight was brutal and swift. Marcus was larger, more experienced, seasoned by decades of combat. But Luna was faster, smarter, and driven by a lifetime of suppressed rage. More than that, she was finally fighting at full strength, her white wolf heritage blazing through her like wildfire. She danced around his attacks, landed devastating blows where he least expected them, and when he tried to use his size to pin her down, she twisted free with inhuman grace. The assembled wolves watched in stunned silence as their former pack leader was systematically dismantled by the female he had spent years calling worthless. When Luna's jaws closed around Marcus's throat, the clearing erupted in shocked silence. "Yield!" she commanded, her voice muffled but unmistakably authoritative. Marcus's eyes bulged with rage and humiliation, but survival instincts finally overcame pride. "I yield!" he gasped. Luna released him immediately, stepping back to shift into human form. She stood over the defeated pack leader, magnificent and unmarked by the battle, power radiating from every line of her body. "By ancient law, your claim over me is severed," she announced to the assembled wolves. "I belong to no pack but the one I choose. I serve no alpha but my equal." She turned to look at Dominic, and the love shining in her eyes was visible to everyone present. "And I choose him." Dominic stepped forward, his own eyes blazing with pride and possessiveness, and something so deep it took Luna's breath away. "And I choose her," he said, his voice carrying across the clearing like a declaration of war. "Luna Ashwood, White Wolf, my mate, my equal, my queen." He pulled her into his arms and kissed her with a passion that made several wolves look away in embarrassment. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard, and the golden thread connecting them blazed so brightly, Luna was surprised others couldn't see it. "Any who wish to contest this claiming may do so now," Dominic announced, his arm around Luna's waist, his stance protective and possessive. "Otherwise, spread the word through every territory. Luna Ashwood is under the protection of the Alpha King. Any who threaten her threaten me." Not one wolf moved to challenge them. As the 3 hunting parties retreated in confused defeat, Luna leaned into Dominic's warmth and finally understood what it felt like to be chosen instead of rejected, protected instead of abandoned, valued instead of discarded. "So," she said, grinning up at him, "Alpha King, huh? You could have mentioned that earlier." His answering laugh was rich with relief and joy and absolute adoration. "Where would have been the fun in that, my queen?" The words sent shivers through Luna's entire body. Queen, mate, equal, chosen. For the first time in her life, she knew exactly who she was. 6 months later, Luna stood on the balcony of the royal palace, watching the sun set over territories that now called her queen. The view still took her breath away. Rolling hills stretched to the horizon, dotted with pack settlements that had once seemed impossibly distant. Below in the courtyard, young wolves trained under the watchful eyes of instructors who had once cowered before lesser alphas. Everything had changed since the day she chose to fight instead of run. "Second thoughts?" Dominic's voice came from behind her, warm with affection and gentle teasing. Luna smiled without turning around. "Constant thoughts, but not the kind you're thinking." He moved to stand beside her, his presence as comforting as it was electrifying. Even after months of being mated, his scent still made her wolf purr with contentment. "What kind, then?" "The kind where I wonder how many other wolves are out there like I was, suppressed, drugged, convinced they're worthless when they could be extraordinary." Luna leaned into his warmth. "We've identified 12 cases just in our own territories, 12 young wolves whose families were told to keep them manageable with regular doses of wolfsbane." "The white wolf bloodline was always feared by those who preferred weak leadership to strong," Dominic said, his arm tightening around her waist. "Your emergence threatened every alpha who ruled through intimidation rather than inspiration. And now? Now they're learning that true strength doesn't diminish when shared, it multiplies." Luna thought about the changes they had implemented together over the past months, the new laws protecting young wolves from suppression, the training programs that identified natural leaders regardless of their parents' status, the complete restructuring of pack hierarchies to reward merit over bloodline. It hadn't been easy. Several older alphas had challenged their authority, convinced that allowing a female equal leadership would somehow weaken their own power. They had all been proven spectacularly wrong. The Crimson Ridge Pack sent another delegation, Dominic mentioned casually. Luna raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess, Alpha Garrett wants to discuss our new policies again?" "He's bringing his entire council this time. Apparently our success is making him nervous." "Good. Nervous leaders make better decisions." Luna turned in his arms, studying his face in the dying light. "Are you worried?" Dominic's smile was sharp and predatory. "About Garrett? Hardly. The man couldn't lead a hunting party to a wounded deer. I'm more concerned about whether you're ready to handle another challenge to our authority." "Our authority," Luna repeated, loving the way those words sounded. Not his authority with her as decoration, not her authority dependent on his approval. Their authority equal and unshakable. "Always ours," Dominic confirmed, bending to brush his lips against her temple. "Though I have to admit, watching you dismantle pompous alphas never gets old." Luna laughed, remembering the last pack leader who had made the mistake of suggesting she was too emotional to make rational decisions. She had calmly presented a strategic analysis so thorough it had left the man speechless, then invited him to spar if he still questioned her capabilities. He had declined. "Speaking of dismantling pompous alphas," she said, "what time does Garrett arrive tomorrow?" "Dawn. He's bringing his beta, his lead enforcer, and 2 council members. Standard intimidation formation." "Perfect. I'll make sure the young trainees are practicing their combat forms in the courtyard when he arrives. Nothing rattles traditional alphas quite like the sight of females and omegas who can actually fight." Dominic's grin was pure pride and wicked anticipation. "Have I mentioned lately that I'm completely in love with your strategic mind?" "Only every day," Luna said, rising on her toes to kiss him properly. "But feel free to keep mentioning it." The kiss deepened. electric and passionate and full of the kind of connection Luna had never dreamed possible. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard, and Luna's wolf was practically vibrating with contentment. "There's something else," Dominic said, his voice slightly rougher than before. "Oh?" "I received word from the Northern Territories today. 3 more white wolf bloodlines have been identified. Families who thought the trait had been bred out generations ago." Luna went very still. "How many?" 7 confirmed descendants, all of them showing signs of suppression, all of them being told they're too weak for leadership roles. His golden eyes burned with the same fury that had driven him to help her. They need someone who understands what they're going through, someone who can show them what they really are. "They need rescue," Luna said quietly. "They need you." The words hung between them like a promise. Luna felt the familiar stirring of purpose, the same drive that had made her save those human hikers despite the risk to herself. There were wolves out there suffering the same fate she had escaped, believing themselves worthless when they carried the bloodline of legends. "When do we leave?" she asked. "We?" Luna gave him a look that could have melted steel. "Did you really think I'd let you face this alone? We're equals, remember? That means we share the dangerous missions too." Dominic's smile could have powered the entire palace. "God, I love you." "I love you too, but more than that." Luna stepped closer, her voice dropping to the tone she used in council meetings when she needed every wolf's absolute attention. "I trust you. I trust us. For the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of what I might become because I know I won't face it alone." "Never alone," Dominic promised, pulling her close again. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." As they stood wrapped in each other's arms, watching the stars appear over their kingdom, Luna reflected on the journey that had brought her here. 6 months ago, she had been nothing more than a rejected Omega with no hope and no future. Today, she was a queen, a mate, a leader who was already changing the world for wolves like herself. The golden thread that connected her to Dominic pulsed with warmth and absolute certainty. They were equals in every way that mattered, in strength, in purpose, in the determination to build something better than what they had inherited. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new wolves to save, new battles to fight. But tonight, Luna Ashwood stood in the arms of her mate and knew exactly who she was. She was the white wolf who refused to stay hidden, the queen who had earned her crown through strength, not birthright, the mate who had found her equal in the most powerful alpha alive. She was everything her pack had tried to prevent her from becoming, and she was just getting started. The future stretched ahead of them, full of possibility and purpose and the kind of love that could reshape the world. Luna smiled as Dominic's arms tightened around her, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of what tomorrow might bring. She was excited to meet it. Where are you listening from? I'd love to hear your thoughts about Luna's transformation from rejected Omega to powerful queen in the comments below. Stories like this remind us that sometimes our greatest strengths are hidden beneath what others see as weakness. If you enjoyed following Luna's journey to finding her true power and her equal, please subscribe for more stories about finding strength in the most unexpected places. It's free and it helps more people discover these tales of courage and transformation.